At a look at some of our top stories. Time now for business news, and Yuka Roye joining us on the set. Good morning to you, Yuka. Investigations getting underway over the fatal crash of the Ethiopian Airlines, and now Boeing has suspended deliveries of its best-selling 737 MAX planes.
737 MAX planes, here you have it. The 8 and 9 models are set to remain grounded for at least several weeks until a software update is installed on all the aircraft. Boeing says it is suspending deliveries of 737 MAXs until it comes up with a solution, but will continue its production. French investigators will start examining the black boxes recovered from the Ethiopian Airlines jet this Friday. The fallout of Sunday's crash, the second fatal accident involving Boeing's best-selling model in 5 months, has proven a PR nightmare for the company.
Real hit in the public relations image. To be fair to Boeing, there are just certain things that it cannot say during an active aircraft investigation. But when it comes out and says, we believe the airplane is safe, they need to tell you why they believe the airplane is safe, and they didn't convey that message. They just say the airplane is safe without, so to speak, showing their math behind that.
Moving on, lawmakers in China have passed a new foreign investment law aimed at easing global concerns about China's business practices. It includes a measure to discourage officials from pressuring foreign companies to hand over technology. The move is widely interpreted as Beijing extending an olive branch to the United States as it works to resolve a trade battle. The tit-for-tat tariffs between the world's two biggest economies have already started to impact businesses on both sides. Earlier in our programme, our Beijing correspondent Charles Pellegrin gave us more details.
In its own words, it seeks to create a better, safer environment for foreign firms on the Chinese market. And this obviously follows grievances and calls made by American companies, notably explaining that there's not enough protection of intellectual property on the Chinese market, and wanting to put an end to the practice of the forced transfer of technology for any foreign firms entering the Chinese market. Now, this law stipulates that there will be criminal penalties for any agent that shares sensitive information belonging to foreign firms. And a lot of people in the business community here, and especially American business community, see this as a step in the right direction. But there is one big problem, which is the lack of an enforcement mechanism for this particular law. Indeed, there's no real way to make sure that these criminal penalties are actually handed out. And mostly, one of the big issues here is that a lot of the courts here in China, most of the courts, all the courts here in China, are actually subject to the orders of the government in Beijing.
Meanwhile, the US President Donald Trump says he expects the ongoing trade talks with China will wrap up within the next 3 to 4 weeks. He sounded optimism about striking a deal, saying the US was getting what it wanted. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said, though, that while both sides were working in good faith, there was still a lot of work to do, and that an expected summit between President Trump and China's Xi Jinping would not happen at the end of March, as previously discussed. Now, as hopes rise on the easing of tensions between the US and China, technology giant Huawei pleaded not guilty in a US court to charges it violated Iran's sanctions. The Chinese firm has also been under pressure as countries around the world blocked it from the 5G network development on concerns over its ties with the Beijing government. Cole Stangler reports.
Accused of plotting to violate Iran trade sanctions, Chinese telecom giant Huawei entered a plea in U.S. federal court.
Not guilty.
It comes 2 weeks after a similar plea over separate charges. Huawei is also accused of stealing technology from U.S. telecom company T-Mobile. Beijing has repeatedly slammed the cases as politically motivated, part of Washington's effort to prevent the company from building out 5G wireless networks worldwide.
Relevant people in the United States should not expect other countries to be willing to sacrifice their own legitimate development rights to cater to the self-interest of the United States and its political plots.
At the center of the intrigue, Meng Wanzhou, Huawei's chief financial officer. U.S. prosecutors say she lied about Huawei's ties to an Iranian company. Meng, who denies the charges, was arrested in Canada last December and is currently facing extradition to the U.S. Washington is also leading a worldwide campaign to get allies to ban Huawei equipment from their shores, arguing the company's ties to the Chinese state pose a national security threat. On Thursday, the Secretary General of NATO said the military alliance was also looking into taking action. Huawei has denied accusations that it might facilitate espionage.
Let's take a quick look at the markets now. And Asian shares broadly rallied this Friday on hopes that the US and China are making progress on their trade negotiations. Major indices are all up, as you can see, between 0.75 percentage point to over 1%. A Japanese court has handed a 2.5-year suspended sentence to Mark Karpeles, the founder of the now defunct MtGox Bitcoin currency exchange. The company once handled 80% of the world's Bitcoin trades, but went bankrupt after 850,000 Bitcoins, then worth about $500 million, disappeared from its platform in 2014. The court found Karpeles guilty of manipulating records, but acquitted him on charges of embezzlement and breach of trust. In its bankruptcy filing, the firm blamed hackers for the lost virtual money. Prosecutors had sought a 10-year prison sentence against the Frenchman. The 33-year-old, though, has already spent almost a year behind bars in pre-trial detention. And that's it from business for now.
All right, thank you very much, Yuka. Yuka Roye with a roundup of the business news. She'll be back a little bit later. But now,